You know that pressure we feel as makers to eventually pick a lane? Like we have to decide once and for all whether we're going to be full-time or accept that our making will always be, quote, just a hobby. Which, clearly, I'm using air quotes. We all know it's not just. Well, after 4 years now of chatting with fellow makers on this podcast, I'm pretty sure that we've created a false narrative inside of our own heads in thinking that successful creative careers are built on dramatic either-or decisions, when in reality, it's actually much more nuanced. Surprise, surprise, right? How many times have you heard me say the word nuance at this point? It's the more refined word of it depends, which I know you've heard me say a million times, especially on the solo episodes here. But to my point, today's conversation with Jenna McNerney, founder of Level Studio Arts, completely changes that either-or narrative. Jenna has been touching clay for 16 years and working professionally with it for 8, but her path has been anything but linear. She's moved in and out of teaching multiple times, opened and closed studios, worked everything from construction sales to hair salon reception, and navigated a chronic illness diagnosis. All while keeping pottery as the constant thread running through her life. In this episode, we talk about the practical realities of how she's adapted her making practice as her circumstances have changed, why having health insurance became a non-negotiable, and how that shaped her career decisions. Not to mention the mindset shifts that come with managing a chronic illness while maintaining very ambitious creative goals. If you're feeling stuck between stability and creative dreams, wondering if taking a day job means giving up, or trying to figure out how to adapt your practice when life throws you big curveballs, Jenna's story shows us that the most sustainable creative careers aren't built on choosing one thing forever. Instead, they're actually built on the ability to adapt in order to keep that creative career forever. We'll get into it all, flexibility, resilience, and keeping your hands in clay no matter what, right after this quick word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by The Community, your creative business support system with over 100 makers from around the world. With both the practical education you need to make a living from the things you make, found in our masterclasses on topics like finances, marketing, and SEO, plus the emotional support of fellow makers who truly understand what it's like to try and make a living from the things we make. It's like having both a business school designed specifically for artists and a team of colleagues who actually get what you're going through. But you don't have to take my word for it.
Hi friends, I'm Debbie Stollier, ceramic artist, lover of texture, and curious human behind Curiosity Ceramics. I'm based in the Bay Area in California, and when I am not at my day job or carving clay, I'm doing dog sports with my pups, Potato and Whiskey. Joining the Makers Playbook community has been such a great experience. The support, the weekly community hangouts, the pep talks, the practical business advice. It's honestly like having a team of cheerleaders who also totally get why I'm still up at midnight glazing mugs. If you want to see what I'm working on or just say hi, you can find me on my Instagram at curiosity.art. Okay, bye!
As Debbie said, go connect with her on Instagram if you have any questions, or check out makersplaybook.com/community to learn more. And of course, come join us. Now, on with the show. Welcome to the Maker's Playbook, the show where we talk all about what it's really like to make a living from the things you make. I'm your host, seasoned entrepreneur of 14 years, Rebecca Ikes Cara. Hey, Jenna. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
This sounds so official now. We both just sat up a little straighter. We went from talking about the world to being on fire to being like, hello, NPR voice.
We did. Maybe that's our next, move. Just full NPR.
I mean, you have a very good voice for that. You could totally pull it off.
I've been told I have a yoga teacher voice. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm down with that. I hate the sound of my own voice, but I feel like we all do.
Scientifically, it has been proven. So I need everybody to hear this because everyone's like, I would love to start a podcast, but I can't stand. I'm like, I don't like the sound of my voice, people. I just wanted to do this badly enough that I push through. I kind of hear it now as like someone else's voice. I don't actually hear it as my own.
Oh,
That's
I kind of
probably
like
weird.
that.
It takes practice, but you'll get there.
Yeah. All right. All right.
I would totally just like listen to you read things. That would be great.
Maybe that's my next job. I'd be down for that.
I mean, listen, I'm going to not talk you out of your formal employment, which we're going to get to in a minute, what with the benefits and the healthcare, but I'm
we
down.
love that.
Also, I don't think I should talk you into multiple side hustles because you already have them. How about you introduce yourself so people actually know what the heck I'm talking about?
So I'm Jenna McNerney. I'm the founder and artist of Level Studio Arts, which is a pottery-based studio in Western Mass. I have been touching clay for 16 years, which sounds crazy, but working professionally with it for 8. And I work mainly with porcelain in my own practice and make a lot of pots.
And how long also, since I know you more than most, because you are a community member and also just, I don't know, I think you were like one of the OG people in the photography course, or we've been connecting on the internet for a very long time. Yeah. How long, you said touching clay for 16 years, professionally for 8 years. I know there's also a teaching side for you. So how do those things mesh together in the timeline?
So I was introduced to clay at a very young age, probably in middle school, but I don't really count that because it was like, make a pinch pot, and that's it. And then we never really revisited that. And then in high school, I took a class for very particular reasons that we won't get into and ended up loving clay more than the reason. But my teacher in high school worked in clay. She was a ceramic artist. Shout out to Beth Stapert, who is my mentor, and I still have contact with her. She's amazing. And I credit everything I've learned about clay beyond my own research to her, because I wouldn't be in it if she didn't teach me the basics. So that's how I started, was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school, loved it, ended up taking independent study as a senior because I wanted to touch clay more and I couldn't get into the ceramics 2 class. So she was like, nope, you're doing this and I think you're going to be a teacher. And I was like, no, I'm not.
Spoiler.
That she was right. But I tell my students that too. They're like, oh, did you want to be a teacher? And I'm like, no, no, I didn't. And they're like, oh, I'm like, it's a whole story. But yeah, I didn't use clay too much in college. I didn't go the traditional route. I didn't have a BFA. I didn't get my master's. That's too much money. I don't want to. But I've been working with clay constantly. So it's like I have more knowledge of it now than I would have. But after going to college, well, I was still in college, I'm not going to lie. So in college, I'm all over the place. In college, I went for art therapy and then I transferred and I have a degree in art therapy and art education. So
I didn't know the art therapy side.
Yeah.
I love this. I almost went for my master's in art therapy and then promptly was like, why would I spend that much money to not earn that much money?
I mean, you could say the same about education. Yeah, but it's true. And it's something that I just wanted to do something with art. I was interested in psychology. That was my first. I didn't even know that existed as an option. Someone told me and I was like, that's what I'm doing. And then did an internship in a school and was like, crap, I kind of like this, and switched my major. So then I double majored. And by my senior year of college, my mentor, my high school teacher, was pregnant and she needed a long-term substitute teacher. And I did one of my pre-practicum teachings with her and she was like, will you be my sub?
Told you so.
Yeah, literally. But also, will you sub for? I'm like, you've been prompting this the whole time. So I did. I was still a full-time student and then I was a full-time teacher. Mind you, I'm in my early 20s at this time. So
things we could do when we were 22.
Literally. I will say it's very odd teaching students when you're 21, 22, and they're 18 in your class. That's a strange thing. but I did it. And that was also when I took my ceramics, or it was junior year. I don't know. I was teaching at the same time I took ceramics in college. And the teacher was like, why do you just want to go on the wheel all the time? And I was like, because I love the wheel. I teach this like outside of this. And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, I teach high schoolers how to use the wheel. She's like, but you're in college. Like, what do you mean? And I was like, I am doing that also. So I ended up teaching the college course I was in. I taught them how to throw because she didn't want to do it. And then she was like, will you be my, yeah. Isn't that hilarious? She was like, oh, do you just want to do the throwing lesson? And I was like, sure. All right. So I did. And then she wanted me to be her studio tech the following year. But then, so it was junior year. But then I was offered the position of full-time substitute for a semester. So I was like, experience so I can get a job after college. We're going to do that. Which now I'm like, which one should I have done? But that's okay.
It worked out.
It worked
You're doing
out.
fine.
Yeah. Because I was teaching like foundations courses. So like painting and drawing. And then I was also teaching ceramics. And it was so much fun. And I loved it. And I was like, guess this is what we're doing. But it allowed me to still have my hands in clay. I had access to a kiln and all of that stuff. And then fast forward, I get a teaching job. They have no ceramics program at all. They didn't have the infrastructure to have a kiln. So I was like, ugh, what do I do? And I was at a private school with these really cool international kids who were just like doing stuff. And you're like, you get so inspired by them. And I was like, I'm going to go back to school. I applied to go get my master's, and then I got it's going to cost $80,000 for 2 years. And I was like, never mind. So
Just kidding.
Just kidding. We're not doing that. So my plan after that was, well, I'm not going to stay teaching. So I quit my job.
Wait, when was this?
This is 2016, 2017.
Okay.
I quit my job. It was 2017. After the kids graduated, I was like, I'm not coming back. I'm opening my studio.
Mm-hmm.
I have no experience at all running a studio on my own, running a kiln on my own.
Are we talking like community studio? Or are we
just independent, no business experience. This is like, I'm just going to do it. Crazy. But I did. I found a space. I ended up taking over the entire space, opened that November. So like from June to November, I was making. November 2nd, 2017, opened my studio, welcome everyone, had a great day, like made $2,000. And I was like, I can do this. This is amazing. And prior to that, I was doing like little shows to like get my name out there and be like, hey, my studio opens on this day and this and this. When you have no experience, don't do that. It's just true. Don't. Like, yes, you could figure it out, but I wasn't in a state of mind to like go and pick up books about business and how I was going to do things. I had no idea.
Were you like totally on your own? Because, okay, so 2017, that's 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So were you like also totally on your own in an apartment, living at home with a partner? Like,
thank God, no. I was still living at home.
Okay.
I didn't have enough money for an apartment. I was a teacher. I didn't. And so
I mean, teaching is not the job I think of that allows for like, oh, I'm going to put some savings away so I can have a nest egg so I can go off and do this.
But I did because it was a boarding school. So for 2 years, all of my money was saved. They paid for meals for me. I could eat there. So this is how it like allowed me to jumpstart. So I saved over 10 grand, and that was my studio startup. I bought a kiln. I bought a wheel. Well, I had the wheel. So I bought a kiln. I had the setup I bought and like thrifted all these different things for displays, buckets.
Shelves, more buckets, more shelves.
Yeah. I only had 2 shelves, and I was like, this is going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Yep. Made it work.
Spoiler for the listeners, you're going to need more than 2 shelves.
You need more than 2. You need more than 2.
Put like a 0 or maybe 2 zeros behind that, and then you'll be good to go.
You need all of the shelves. You can never have enough shelves. You can never have enough buckets. Like, that is just what it was.
And if you're trying to get like aesthetically pleasing buckets, they're annoyingly more expensive than the bright green ones or bright orange ones that have Lowe's or Home Depot on them.
It's ridiculous.
I digress. Keep going.
Yeah. The studio I was in at that time, it was all attached to an apartment building. So it's the oldest building in the town that was in, and I was like, Dad, will you make me a wedging table? And he was like, okay, great, sure. And we brought it to the studio, and the table was, I can't even say how off level it was. And my dad's like, no, 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 I leveled this table. This is the building. And we had to cut, and I'm not exaggerating, like 4 to 6 inches off of one side. Therefore, my studio's name is Level Studio Arts.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Mhm.
That's where the name came from?
That's where the name came from.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh my God, I have to level everything in this building. Like, I had to level my wheel. I had to level my tables. Everything was on different size stilts. And so, yeah, Level Studio Art is because my first studio building was not level at all.
Can you imagine? I'm just picturing trying to throw where even within the diameter of the wheel, you're off from one side to the other.
Yeah. I had to level everything out. Like, I just kept a level in the studio. So it was like, I had to make sure. So, yeah, that's how my studio got my name. I wasn't able to afford that anymore, the studio space, because I didn't know what I was doing, like just hand in hand. And then I moved to another space because I had a connection with someone who was doing paint and sips. And she was like, do you just want to use this as your studio space and run the paint and sips? Absolutely.
Paint and sips being like there's bisque where people come in, have a bottle of wine, and paint pottery.
No, like actual painting.
Oh, okay. But like when somebody, is it the painting where it's like, okay, we're all doing this
The
one
same painting.
image and I'm going to walk you through. Okay.
So I used to create the paintings, sell those, split the revenue with her, and go from there. She would get all the drinks for everyone. It was fun. It was a good time. I also picked up a side hustle of being a receptionist at a hair salon because I needed more cash. And of course, all of this lined up with me turning 26, and I no longer am on my parents' insurance.
I was like, only the Americans listening are going to understand the significance of 26.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so true. And I know we talk about insurance every time, but we'll get into that, why that's so important for me. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I wasn't making enough money to pay for insurance. Like, I had to figure all of that out. And then because I had a storefront in this space too, it was beautiful. People walked by. It just wasn't the right place. So then I got an independent place. So I've moved my studio a million times.
I was going to say 3 times in like 8 years is a lot.
So the kilns only moved twice. And I moved the studio to East Hampton, Mass, shared a space with 2 other artists that were not ceramic artists. I made everything there, and I traveled to the kiln because my kiln is now in my parents' basement. Like, bless their little hearts for allowing me to do that. And fast forward to now, my studio is in my parents' basement. My parents don't live too far, but I had to cut down on my driving and expenses because I'll just jump into it. I also have a chronic illness.
Yay! Healthcare.
Yeah, which is why healthcare is so important. But I was diagnosed in 2023, which is really funny because the first time I met you in person, I couldn't feel my leg. Nobody knew. Yep.
All of Nsika?
Mm-hmm. All of Nsika. Yep. March 2023, I had 0 feeling in my left leg, like all the way up to my butt. Like, I had no feeling. No feeling at all. I'm walking around Nsika. I was exhausted. I didn't know what was going on with me. Fast forward to September, and I'm diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. It's a really hard word for what it does for you to be able to pronounce things anyways.
Right. That's just rude.
It really is.
They really doubled down on that. Like, excuse me.
They didn't need to, but I was diagnosed with that. So now this changed everything. Everything in my practice, everything in my career paths and things of that nature. But this is also something that's super weird. I've been in and out of education for as long as I've been in a career, right? So as soon as I was out of college, I had a teaching job, left the teaching job to open my studio, went back to teaching, left that to go back to teaching at the same place I originally was. So I went to 2 different teaching places, and then I quit that and was in a sales job. Oh, it's even better when you hear what the sales job is. It was for selling windows and doors to construction workers.
I mean, I can actually see you pulling that off.
Oh, I did great, but it was like because I'm interested in architecture. Like there's all these little like nuances, and I'm really good at bullshitting. And I wrote a whole cover letter that was like, I make aesthetic things and sell them. Windows are aesthetic things, but they're also functional. I make functional things. It sounds like I'd be perfect for this job. And they were like, wow, okay. I was the only girl on the team.
Not surprised.
Yeah, so surprising, right? And I was working with all these construction working men. It was weird. I did it for a year and a half. And then I was like, this is not what I want to do. But I started during the pandemic with them. So I left teaching during the pandemic, went into sales, and then I was like, I'm over it. And now I'm where I'm teaching now. Yeah.
So when you left teaching, was it like, so for school years in the US, it starts in the fall, ends in the spring. So we're spanning calendar years. I'm like, did you just get lucky, quote unquote, and had left in 2019 before the start of the 2 years? So it was fall of 2020 that you were like, no way. No.
So I was teaching full-time at the private school boarding school in 2019, 2020. This is also where I met Kalindal, is the same time frame. So
who's your partner for people
yes,
that are like
who's my
random?
partner? Yep.
Yeah.
So I was teaching, March 2020 happens. I was like, we're not going back. And I've been saying this since January because we had international kids. We had COVID on campus before COVID was COVID. We did. We just didn't know what it was. So I was like, we're not coming back to school after March break, which was our spring break time. I told the kids to take all their stuff, and they were like, you're crazy. And then I got emails afterwards like, you were right, Miss McNerney.
How'd you know?
It's like, because I pay attention, guys. You got to be aware. But it's so true. And then I go through that. I was in charge of the senior class that year. We had to figure out what graduation was. We did it virtually. We went to campus and they drove like a parade, these poor kids. It was a great class too. Like they were just lovely children. Everyone was depressed. It was a time. And then we go back the following year. We get significant pay cuts, specifically the art department in itself. So they were like, oh, admin's getting an 11% pay cut. And it ended up that the art department had like closer to almost 12% of a pay cut, but they didn't understand. That's a whole nother story. And I was like, I can't live. Like that's just, I'm outside teaching in a tent, which was awful. Yeah.
In Massachusetts.
Not
Not exactly the most consistent weather climate.
No.
Like you're akin to the Midwest.
It was awful. The kids were miserable. Like as soon as it was sunny, I was like, move your desks to the sun. And we're in art class. We never work on desks. So that was weird too for everyone. We have tables. We have space. Like, nope.
Or also like you're using materials where people are getting wet. And like school starts in the fall and then it gets cold really quickly. What are you going to do?
We had heaters in the tent. It was so bizarre. And I was over it. We didn't have the best administration at the time. I was done. And I was on my breaks taking interviews in my car. My car was parked across from a tent. Just go on over.
Plus for the tent.
Yeah, right? Right. So I just go over, take a quick interview. I was interviewing for insurance companies, for like anything I could find. I was done teaching. I was leaving the practice. And I got the sales position. And I left end of October, beginning of November that year. Told all of my kids what was going on. I'm sorry. I love you. But this isn't, I can't do it. And I had one kid who I was the only teacher that he connected with. And it was very obvious. And he stayed and he was sad. And he was a very I don't cry. And he got watery. And I was like, you good? And the only thing he asked me, he looked up at me and he goes, your new job make more money? And I went, it does. And he goes, I get it. And that was it. That was enough for him. And it's funny because these kids get it. They're not stupid. They understand. And there's just not money in teaching. And I keep my practice alive because you need both, right? And I love the kids that I teach and all of that. But is teaching going to be my only career? Probably not. And that's just the reality.
It's filling a supporting role that I think all of us need in one way or another, right?
I could tell you just in the most honest way, I am a teacher now because I get insurance. I need insurance. I have treatments twice a year. They are not cheap. It is very expensive. I wouldn't be able to get the treatment that I'm getting if I didn't have insurance. So I need a day job in order to have that. And that's just the reality of living in the US. And it's rough, but that's what we're here for. We make it work, we figure it out, and we go from there. So
I am amazed by this whole story because in my brain, you had just always been a teacher. Like it was, I think most people think of people that are teachers as like passionate about it and not to say that you're not bringing passion to these kids. Like I know you well enough to know that you're still showing up 100%. But, it is a hard job to do outside of like it being your life's calling.
yeah,
And so it's also really comforting for me to hear, and I assume for other people, how many times you've come in and out of something as you needed it. It wasn't, okay, I have this career, I have to stick with this career forever. Because I think especially for our generation, we are very similar in age. I'm going to stereotype here, but at least for my experience, my parents had the same jobs basically until they retired, more or less. I mean, my dad, same job, same company, but he switched departments. My mom has always been a nurse, but switched kind of what that practice looked like, but still always a nurse.
Yeah.
And so the idea of changing, that wasn't even like on my radar growing up. It was like once you picked something,
you choose it.
You did that forever. And so for you to be able to share with everybody also how you've been able to support yourself in ways that like as times change and as your needs change, like Level Studio Arts in the one way has been the thing that stays most consistent across the whole board while you're figuring out ways to support it elsewhere.
It's my through line. It's what keeps me going. And we've talked about this off of this, that like clay is my passion. Ceramics is my passion. I couldn't learn enough about it. I want to know everything. I want to try everything. And I do. And I love sharing that with my students. I nerd out with them when I learn new things about the chemistry. And they're like, we don't need to know that much. I'm like, but you do. You need to know everything.
This is not science class. Give us a break.
Literally. You're like, we take chemistry. I'm like, no, this is different. You have to know it.
This is fun chemistry. Although please don't blow anything up. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, we had some weird things happen because the kids experiment because I'm like, you have to. That's how we learn, right? But I've had kids ask me, is this what you want to do? I already said this, but like, no, it's not my passion. I know how to teach. I know the education portion behind things. Dare I say I'm good at it. I can connect with students really well, but that's because I can connect with people, right? And they're just little people. And I work with middle schoolers and high schoolers. Are middle schoolers annoying? Yeah, they are. You just need a little bit more patience with them. And that's all it is. And then upper schoolers just want to tell you all the drama that's happening at all times. And you're like, I didn't ask for this, but thank you.
Like, cool. Didn't actually need to know that much about your personal life.
Yeah. But they recognize when things are off and things of that nature. So like I have a handful of my students and they find my Instagram. They figure it out even if they're not directly my students. So they know what's going on. I've mentioned in my Instagram that I have MS and things of that nature. But there's only a handful of them know like why I'm absent for 5 days or things that they're like, oh, she had treatment and they know when it is. And they're just so generous with it. And if I like am red because I'll get flushing because I get overheated, I have certain students who are like, you need to sit down. I'm like, you're right. Thank you. Yeah. And they're so precious and they know and they check in and they keep me more sane than I probably keep them sane. But they're good at that. And that's the part of education that I love is that interaction with the kids and making sure that they inspire me too. They have the weirdest ideas. They're a bunch of weirdos and I love them all, but they have strange ideas and then they really run with it. And I had one kid who was like, I'm going to put seashells on my pot. What would happen? And I was like, well, I think that's this chemical. So this is what should happen. Oh, no, it's not. It's not at all what happens. Don't put seashells in a kiln, everyone.
I mean, you do it in a wood kiln. I've done it in a wood kiln, but they basically, melt.
What happens in a wood kiln?
Well, they didn't melt, but Do I have one next to me?
Did it turn to like a powder?
Well, so the ones that I have, I needed to sand off the rest of it because it's still really sharp, but it will basically, I don't want to call it a powder. Also, all the wood fires are going to come at me now. I'm like, yeah, guys, I'm not the chemistry person here. Francesco's the mad scientist. I just know that in Italy, we went to the beach, we got a bunch of seashells and stuck them on pots. We use them as almost as cookies, not as cookies, but as
like the feet.
wadding.
Yeah,
Instead of we
I
use
say
them
the
as
feet.
wadding. Yeah, exactly.
The feet.
We're like, we swear we know what we're talking about, people.
Yeah, I swear we do.
We're just recording way too early in the day. So we use them. I think we might have still put wadding under them.
Okay.
So put them on the pots in whatever. I'm going to
like
get
the
concave.
textured area.
Pot into the pot.
Yep.
Wadding underneath. And then it basically imprinted itself onto the pot. So there was a texture to it. And then I needed to like take a Dremel and sand down the rough spots.
I had such a different experience in an electric kiln. And it's funny because I also am just like, yeah, sure, let's try it. Let's see what happens. Have some kids ruin my kiln shelves? Yes, 100%. But that's what we grind shelves for. Advancer, if you hear me. Send some my way.
I was just going to say, this episode is not sponsored, but it could be.
It could be. It could indeed.
And I don't even need the shelves. Like, just sponsor us and I'll send the shelves to educators like Jenna. Thank you so much.
That would be super helpful because, like, we put seashells in. It was just a little ring dish. She wanted to try it out. And we do it, and it turned into this, like, bright blue, powdery substance. And I look it up, and it's like, oh, if you put this in at a high temperature, it turns into this chemical that also can be used to decompose bodies. And I was like, whoa, don't touch it. I don't know if it's true. It was just on the internet. And I was like, you know what? You're going to make another one. You're going to use glass. We're not using seashells. Like, nope. So it's on my list of things to send over to Matt and Rose of Ceramics Workshop because I'm like, oh my God, what happened? It is the weirdest thing. And I was like, let's just not touch it just in case. I don't know.
You get the science department to come in with like the biohazard suit.
Yeah. At the end, because this kid just graduated and she's like, do I throw this out? I was like, no, I want to keep that. I'm curious. And she was like, let me know. I was like, I will. I'll email you.
Right? We'll figure this out.
We'll figure it out eventually. But if you don't let the kids experiment and fail, and it's funny because the same kid, they do speeches in their senior, like on graduation, and hers was all about ceramics. And I was like, oh, thanks. But she was like, it was the first time a teacher ever told me, I can't wait for you to fail. And I did say that to this child. And I was like, listen, you are a perfectionist. You want everything to be as it is. Clay is not that. We just got a bunch of new wheels. You're going to try the wheel next year and you're going to fail and it's going to be the best thing for you. And she was like, what the hell? Like, who says that? And I was like, no, really. And she put it in her speech. She's like, I started to be able to see like the beauty in the failures. So like she made this clam lamp and it closed a little bit. And she was like, wait, that's actually what clams do. So we figured out how to get the light bulb in it, even though it was different than originally measured and things of that nature. But it was all these little things that you have to fail. If you don't fail, like you're not going to move forward. And I could say the same about me quitting my job and opening a studio without knowing anything. Like I had to fail at that to know how I could not fail at that in the future. Yes, it's risk. Yes, I'm not the most risk adverse. I wish I was, but I'm not. If I want to do something, I'm impulsive. I have ADHD. I'm going to do it. It's just what's going to happen. I have to know and I have to figure it out on my own. And that's why I am where I'm at now. I moved my studio once again to be in my parents' basement because I needed to not drive because I also have a commute like a psychopath. I drive 55 minutes to work every day teaching and then 55 minutes back. And then I would go 20 minutes to the studio. And I was like, I can't do that. And this is before I had a diagnosis. I don't know why I'm so damn tired. But then... Yeah.
Meanwhile, just the average person in a classroom and then with 2 hours of commuting every day would be like, I know why you're so tired. Hi.
Yeah. Like I used to have a lesser commute and I was teaching, and for my sanity, I had to go to the studio every day. So I would teach all day. And this was when I was teaching in a public school. It was a lot. I got hit by children, not their fault, systematic problems we can get into another time. But I had to go to the studio. So I would be up at 6 a.m., go teach all day until 3:30, 4 o'clock, drive, because at this point, my studio was far from where I was teaching, not as far as it is now, but I would then go to the studio and I'd be there till 11 p.m. And then I would wake up at 6 and I would do it again. And I was running on coffee. Like, that's just what it was. It was, how many coffees do you drink a day? I don't want to tell you, doctor. Like, it's not okay.
I know my answer is not the appropriate one, so I plead the fifth. Thank you so much.
Exactly. It's like, no. And then fast forward, now I don't even drink coffee because I can't, but it's lots of tea still.
What I find interesting about and you kind of just like cursory jumped past it. We talked about the importance of failure, and I agree completely, and we could go like ad nauseum about that in terms of also like when you're in school, whether it be high school, college, whatever, there are so many more resources available to you. And so to me, the transition out of school into the real world was actually the more aggressive. Like if you had advancer shelves, it'd be great for you, but then no student would understand the importance of cookies or of what happens when you have to grind shelves and when a glaze runs and all of these things. So it would be like, whatever, I can try what I want because we just slide it right off.
Yep.
The point I was trying to get to is talking about failure. You say like, oh, I quit my job and started a business and then it failed. But did it? You know, like, okay, you don't have a storefront anymore. That part didn't work out in that moment. But it's something I've been thinking about a lot in that I feel like the universal truth for starting any business is the concept of like the amount of runway you have, right? So you said you had saved up that $10,000 and you could buy a kiln, but like even 8 years ago, that wasn't going to necessarily extend a salary past, I don't know. Let's be generous. Let's say 5 months, which is absolutely insanity, and it would never be that long.
Sounds nice, though.
Let's just make the math easy.
Yep.
So then you have this runway of time, the universal truths of business in terms of like there's a runway you have in which like you're starting and you need it to work. And in between, you've got enough support, whatever that might be, resources, finances, yada, yada, to figure it out. And then there's also just straight up timing. And I don't want to call timing completely luck because I think we can be strategic about it a little bit. Like you said, you can be aware of what's going on around you and figure some things out. But like, you know, for example, was quitting weddings and going all in on an online education platform between 24 and 25 really the best of times? Did I make this harder on myself? Yes, the answer is yes. So does that mean it's failure? I don't know, right? Like you're still making work. You're still taking care of yourself in the way that you need to in order to continue that making practice. You just don't have a storefront.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is I also just didn't have the business knowledge at the time. I didn't have the ideas that I needed. I didn't know what a sales funnel was. Like, if you would have asked 2017 me, like, oh, what's your sales funnel? I would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, I have no idea. Because I didn't. I had no clue. None whatsoever. And then fast forward to I meet someone who does business in his own, right? And with his, like, we both are very highly ambitious people, me and my partner. And he was like, oh, what do you make ceramics, like, and you sell them? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, do you sell them online? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, what do you do with that? And this and that. And I was like, I help. Like, what do you mean? But it was super helpful to have him like step in and be like, this is how you set up a sales funnel. This is how you do email marketing. And everything I spit back out is because either he's taught me or he's handed me a book, because he's not going to tell me everything. He's like, hey, here, read this. And it could be anything along the lines of like, I read the E-Myth. I read a whole bunch of different books that I can't go through because brain. But that's what really helps is like, no, you have to do the research. Like, you don't just say, I'm going to have a business. You have to know, but you also, hot take, I don't think you should go to, I know, get ready, everyone. I don't think.
Nobody can see me, but my fingers are like, I'm doing like the evil
Tell me more.
finger tap. Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you should go to college to get a business degree. I don't.
100% agree.
I don't
100%.
think so. There are so many books by so many brilliant business people. Some of them suck as people, but they were really good businessmen. Like, let's just be real honest about it. And
Good business, or did they just make a lot of money?
well, they have the techniques, right?
Yeah.
So they have the setup of like, hey, if you want to do direct marketing, read this book by this person. And I hate the question, what's your favorite book? I get asked that all the time. And I'm like, you don't read the books I read. I read business books. I read art books. Like, I'm not reading storytelling books. I probably should for my mental health, but I don't. But that's...
We're going to talk about this. We're going to get you into book club in the community. It's, Yep.
But it's like, I just bought 4 new books for the summer for me to read on top of the articles I need to read for writing curriculum for next year and things of that nature. Like, this, newsflash, this is what teachers do in their summers. Like, we're not sitting by a beach with a martini. Sounds nice, like maybe for 1 week, but a lot of us are still thinking about our students. And I know it's counter something, there's a word there, of like, I'm not passionate about teaching, but like, yeah, I don't stop thinking about how I can make these kids better at what they do. And I also don't even connect it back with like, I teach art. No, I'm teaching life skills and life lessons. We talk about business in my classes. They're like, wait, you sell your pots? I'm like, yeah, I do. And they're like, oh, well, how much do you sell a mug for? And like, sometimes I'll say like $40 because I have a range. And they're like, whoa, that's a lot for a mug. And I'm like, well, I also sell them for $65. Like, and they're like, what? Who buys a mug for that much? I'm like, well, you have to find your right audience and things of that nature. Like, I just had headshots done by a student. Like, a student just did my photos. And I was like, what are you doing with this? I know this is not what you're going to college for, but do you plan to do something? And I was like, she was like, yeah, I think I want to do, like, I thought about wedding photography or just portrait. And I was like, she's a great portrait photographer. The entire campus knows. And it's one of those things where it's like, you can do this if you want books so that you can create it as a business. You're calling me. Like, I will give you a full list. And she's like, okay, yeah, please do that. And I was like, I got you. I'll send an email along. I will let you know what books you should read for whenever you're ready. And if you need help setting things up, let me know. We got you. And it's one of those things where like, you don't...
Also, go take accounting 101. Just a couple. There's a couple classes. I don't think you need a whole degree, but there's a couple classes that would really help.
Yeah, but it's so true. And it's like, if you don't have the people in your life who can help you with that and you've never taken a class, it's going to be really flipping hard. It just is. Like, we have this is why it's so great to be in the community and not to just like fluff it up because I'm talking to you, but it's just true. Like, we had a masterclass on finances. It was amazing. People who weren't in it can't even imagine like what type of document we were provided for that. It's very, very helpful.
Also, from a professional, not from me, just to clarify.
Yes.
There are things I am perfectly comfortable teaching, and then there are other things that I know are not my zone of genius. Can I do it? Yes, but you don't want to learn from me.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. Like, you had someone in there who knew exactly what they were talking about, who provided all of this value, and it's something that maybe people don't know outside of our community, but like within it, it's like, hell yeah, like, I can't wait for this. And if you can't catch it, there's a replay. Like, there's all these different things. Like, I still have to go back and rewatch the SEO and things like that. I watched half of it.
That's why there's a replay. That's why there's a recording.
I was in the middle of something and my partner's like, you can't do 2 things at once, right? And I was like, you're not wrong. He's like, go back to that. But it's the resources are there, and that's why I joined the community in the first place. And this isn't a pitch, but it also is, because I'm going to be honest, like, I was in my studio by myself learning things. I'm learning different business things from someone who sells products and services, right? Not in the art world. It's so different. And it's funny because we also just started talking. He does restaurant marketing. Restaurant owners are also often the cooks they're not business oriented. They're not. And it's not a shot at them. It's just, no, they have artist brain. We have artist brain. We think of things very differently. It's like, no, I really want you to have this pot with an orange on it. I think it really resonates with you. Like, it's pretty. Buy it. As opposed to like telling a whole story of like, why do you paint fruit on mugs and of this nature? And it's like, because I'm obsessed with painting food. And like, I think it's cool. I haven't done that because my practice has changed since, which that's a whole nother space to be talking about. But my work's changed dramatically since I've been diagnosed. My practice has changed. I'm not doing the same things I was. And it was both a health choice and a business choice because it has to be aligned with what you want in life. So I have to slow down now. I can't make as much product as I used to. I used to be able to sit, make more than 30 products in one sitting, go ham, go as hard as I could, get it all done, and then come back the next day, trim, handle, and do more. I can't do that anymore. I can on some days, but I have to, in the chronic illness community, you have to count your spoons. That's your energy, right? So they use
Spoons? Why spoons?
I have no idea, but it makes sense, and I don't know why. I've just accepted it as something that's said. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have, like, I wear a watch that tells me what my body battery is. Like, it was an investment that I made so that I know how much energy I've exerted. And there are some days when I'm teaching where I'm like, I got 5 points left. I started with 60. I started with 80. And I still have to get home. One of us has to cook dinner. And that's where you delegate, like, hey, I can't cook dinner tonight. Could you? And it's that balance of energy. And I have to use that in my studio practice now. I'm not coming home from work and going to the studio every night. I can't do it anymore. I don't have that energy. So instead, I'm using weekends. And then we came up with this because, of course, you have, like, when you're told you have a chronic illness and you're not going to have the same energy as you used to, you're going to be fatigued all the time. You're going to have brain fog. You're going to have this and that and that. And sometimes your body's going to hurt you. You have to think of things in a very different way. So what we did, we sat down when I was like, I can't do anything anymore. Because inevitably you're going to have that grieving.
Well, I was picturing you either going through before the grieving stage being like, yeah, I know most people will, but I'm going to.
You know I did that. But it's so funny because then you have your family like, hey, you need to like chill. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. I can do this. I could do it before. They're like, it's not the same anymore. I'm like, but what if it is?
Watch me.
What if it is? And of course, I still do that now. Like, I'm not, but it's very different. And we had to like come up with this plan of, I have 4 shifts. There are 4 shifts I can take on the weekend. I can do a morning shift. I can do an afternoon shift after lunch, both days, Saturday and Sunday. And if I don't have enough spoons, if I don't have enough energy, then we're doing 1 shift a day, or we're doing 2 in one day, and then the next day is complete rest. And it's that balance that I've had to find. And it's a struggle because I am a doer. I'm very ambitious. I don't have there's no ceiling for me to get to. It's so high up that I don't even know if I'll ever reach it. I have all of these plans that I want to do, and it's forced me to reframe, like, you don't have to do that in 5 years, Jenna. Like, chill. You're okay. Like, if it takes you 10, then it takes you 10. Your 30s are your new 20s, your 50s are your new 30s, right? Like, there's no limit to time. You put that on yourself. And it's something that we say in our household all the time. It's like, that's your time frame. That's not my time frame. Like, it's not the world's time frame. You put that on yourself. So, like, I just had a show this past weekend and it completely knocked me out. It's the end of the year. We have event after event after event. And then I have a show on the weekend, which is a 2-day show. It is an 8-hour show and then a 6-hour show on both days. It's exhausting for anyone. And I used to be able to go to shows set up by myself, do whatever. Like, no, Kalindel's coming with me. Like, he's there and he's helping, which I was super grateful for. But I can't do it alone anymore. And that's okay. I've accepted it. And we go. But I was completely down for the count to the point where I didn't get out of bed on Monday. But I relaxed. I slept. I did what I needed to do. I nourished my body. And now I'm like coming back up. And it's you have to listen to those cues in order to move forward. But it really has changed how I view everything that I do, from teaching. Like, you're going to ask me to do extra work that I don't actually have to do, then no, I'm not doing it. It's as simple as that. It's, oh, can you do this? Do I have to do that? No, I'm going to choose not to. And you have to pick what you're able to do and what you're not able to do. And it's flipping hard. Like, it just is. And it's one of those things where, like, you're retraining your brain to slow down. And that alone has altered what I make dramatically. I know that I have to sell pots. That's part of it, is like, yes, I could spend an hour and a half painting an orange on a mug. I could.
Which you have, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, thank you. But I could take all of that time and do that one thing, or I can production throw, because I'm able to do that. I just have to split it up now, right? So I can production throw a whole bunch of mugs that are straight walled mugs with a comfortable handle, and then a whole bunch of oil bottles, and have glazes that work and that speak to people. And that's what they're stopping for. They're stopping because, oh my God, I haven't seen this color glaze before. Do you make your own glazes? This is so beautiful. As opposed to, holy shit, did you paint that? Because that's what I was getting before. And it's, yeah, that's hand painted. And I wasn't charging enough for my hand painted mugs.
No, you were not.
I was not. And I know
we talked about this in a community critique.
We did. Because I wasn't at all for, like, the time that I was putting into it. And I just met another potter over the weekend. I went to her booth, and it was like, take Martha Grover, Sam Bragel, I don't know if that's how you say her last name, and it was one other artist that I thought of. Oh, Taylor Cision. I don't know how to say her last name either. I apologize for pronunciation. But take all of their work together, and that's what this artist's work reminded me of. But it was completely her own, but it reminded me of that. It was porcelain, light, highly surface decorated. And I was like, my guy, all of this took you forever. And her prices were higher. And I flipped over a mug, and I was like, thank God, because it matched what the work was. And because we know what the work is. And she was like, yeah, but I don't know how to sell it here. And I was like, I don't know if this is your audience. I was like, if you want to talk about this more, like, let's talk about it. Because, like, I have two different lines of work. I have what I consider my art, and then I have my production line. I don't go to shows with a lot of art. I have some of it. I put a little bit in to be like, hey, I also do this. If you are someone who values this, let's talk. But also, if you just want a mug that is like part of a ritual in the morning that you really feel comfortable with, that you really love, it's going to help you slow down and do what you need, then I have that too. So I got my production line, and I have that. And she was like, I feel like I need to do that. And I was like, yes, but maybe not. It depends on if you want to do shows. And, like, this is a market of...
Or what kind of shows, right? Because
Exactly.
I think of a place like Cherry Creek or American Craft Council. Yep. And this is what goes back to what you were saying in terms of business. Like, do you need an actual business degree? No. But are there some universal truths that we do have to understand in order to make strategic decisions?
Yes.
Because you've heard me say a million times, like, is anything possible? Yes. Are certain things more plausible? Also, yes.
Yeah.
But it really just comes down to, like, if you make decision A, that potentially means options 1, 2, 3, 4. If you make decision B, that means options, X, Y, Z, whatever, beta. I did 1, 2, 3, 4 the last time, and then I realized the other example was only 3. So it's not that you can't. It's not that it's impossible. It's just different realities on either side. And I find where so many of us wind up frustrated is when we're trying to pair two different realities together that really just are not going to go together. Or the likelihood of them not going together, right? Like, I can't see a world where I could charge what I charge for weddings in my hometown, which was not Chicago. Like, what I charge in Chicago versus what somebody would be willing to pay in a tiny town in Illinois, not tiny, but small. Like, they're just different realities.
Yeah.
And that seems so obvious, I'm sure, to everyone when I say that, but we don't take that type of consideration for ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
I think we think, oh, I'm doing something wrong, or my work isn't as good, or it's something wrong with me. And it's like, no.
I feel like this is where imposter syndrome comes from. The work isn't selling, therefore it's not good. That's not true. It's not true. You have the wrong audience. Like, hate to tell you, that's what it is. And it's like,
I mean, to be fair, those early things I sold, the work was not good. So,
oh my God, heavy.
Multiple things can be true.
Yes.
But
100%. Like, I was selling things for way more than I should have. I shouldn't have been selling when I started selling. Absolutely not. But I digress.
I really should still send a new set of cereal bowls to Linnea. Hi, if you're listening. I apologize.
You're a champion, Linnea. But it's true. And then the way I look at my business is, yes, it's a side hustle, but it's also like there's 3 in 1. I have my art, I have my production, and then I also have the trees that I make. Am I someone who likes to do specific things for like holiday related or anything of that nature? I don't want to be known as the tree girl. I'm freaking known as the tree girl. I am. And you know what? I'll take it. Because if I can sell, like, it's June. I just sold 10 trees in June because I had them out. I made extras. And people are like, she has the trees, because they know I sell out around the holidays. So it's like, sign up for my email list so that you have first come, first serve. Because if you don't sign up, then guess what? You're going to miss it. And that's one aspect of my business. Then I have the production, and then I have the art. And it's like, I haven't even redove into my art yet. That's what my summer's for. You have to set things up for yourself to be successful. And I think that's what I was trying to like tell this artist, like, you're at a craft fair connected to like a fair. Like, there's rides around the corner. That's hard to sell
like
at.
funnel cake and
Yes.
lemonade shake-ups.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not a bad show. It's just different. So it's, yes, we have a whole bunch of artists working, and a lot of their work is absolutely stunning. And it's in an area it's a wealthy area. Like, there are people with money here. And it was so weird because she was like, it's just not, I don't know what else to do. And there's so many different things. Like, my mind's going a million miles a minute because like I completely changed my setup, and a lot of it was geared towards this. And I want to do an art show next year. So I'm starting now to get feedback. I changed my entire setup. I changed the tablecloths. I got new shelving. It's all very sleek and clean so that what stands out? My pots. And everything looked more elevated. And that's the language that was shot back at me. I have people coming through and they're like, it looks really elegant. It looks elevated. It looks soft and cozy and calm in here. And it's like, yes, that's what I'm trying to get out. And then if you look at someone else's work that's really intricately designed and this and that, and then they have a rustic setup, there's a clash there, right? And I'm not saying everybody change your setup. It's expensive. It is. I just dropped a bunch of money on it. But I made choices so that the future me, the future business, is able to catch up with how I want it to be and be perceived.
You also made those choices after having already tested a lot of things for a long time.
Yes.
It's not like you're changing your setup every single year. It's not like you're changing any different show. And this is where, going back to what you were talking about with just the conversations in the community, so much of this requires so much nuance, which is why I don't have a business course that somebody can just go and buy and take and then apply it all, because the answer is always, well, it depends. Like, let's have a conversation. Like, that's why that space exists, because there's constantly a feedback loop and an ebb and a flow. And the decision you're making now is different than when we first started those conversations, because your life has changed.
Yep.
And so, like, what you might have learned from some course 2 years ago would be like, well, actually, I can't do any of that now. How can I change this? How can I pivot? And for especially for like that artist that you saw at the show, it's like early on when you're trying to figure out what that audience is, the decisions you're going to make are different than 5 years later, when you have a little bit more of a grasp and you can be more specific and exacting because you're really getting to know who that audience is.
Exactly. It is exactly what you said. It's so nuanced, and there's so many different answers that, like, not everyone's going to have those answers for you. I definitely say more than I probably should to strangers that I've just met of like, hey, have you thought about doing this? But it's funny because then like Kalinda went over to her tent and was like, let's talk about your pricing and this and that. Like, what do you think that this is too high? What were they before? And I was like, please don't tell her to change her prices. Like, she got to a point where that's where she needs to be, and she just needs to find the audience. And it's some of that is like, there's that business mind, and then there's that artist mind, and you need to have that overlap. You need to have no, I'm selling art. I'm selling a luxury good. Like, this isn't mass produced. You can't go to Target to get this. You shouldn't go to Target anyways. But
And it's also a want. Well, yeah. Side note. Back up. Let me not gloss over that. And if people don't understand why not, send me a message. We'll talk about it.
You could send me one too.
Yep. We have the receipts. I know that word luxury can rub people the wrong way sometimes. And I think the simplest definition for me is it is a want, not a need.
That's any luxury.
Right. And regardless if we're talking like true economic definition of luxury, which has its own thing, and I've been in that world and we can talk about that if people want to talk about it. But, it's a want, not a need. And the way the sales process of selling a product, an item, a service, anything that is a want, not a need is just different than milk.
Yeah.
Or whatever else. And so this reminds me of the conversation we just had with Heidi around like there is so much on the internet that people want to try and teach people about business and whatever, but like it's so very specific depending on what world you're in, on what industry you're in, on what you're trying to sell. It changes. There are not, yes, we've talked about some universal truths in business, but like, dear God, the tech bros are not your source of education, my dear maker friends.
No, but that's so true though.
We're not going to have a 4-hour work week. Sorry.
No, it's not realistic. It's not sustainable if you're making the things that you're selling. And I think that that's something that a lot of people forget when they're looking for resources online. It's like, we're not a drop shipping model. Like, drop shipping, fantastic. It works. We know it works because people make frickin' money from it, right? So there's a drop shipping model, and then there's I'm buying up goods around me and I'm selling them. I have the inventory. And then there's making. So there's even more nuance in it. So it's like, I made this item. It had to go through the whole process. I don't have to go through the whole process of pottery. These are potters listening. But we know the steps. There's so much. And then if you start thinking about like surface design and people taking their time on surface design, like carving and painting and layering glazes, sgraffito, like there's so many different ways, like sculptural mugs, like good Lord, like bless your heart, you're doing amazing. Like, but it's so true. And those are dramatically different than these were made in a factory, or these were made in a factory not even in the US because we're not a factory country.
Or even the production work, like even within your own business, like you were saying, your production line versus your art line.
Completely different.
Just both handmade, still incredibly different.
Incredibly different price points. And my production stuff isn't affordable. It's not meant to be affordable. It's costly. It's not expensive. It's costly. And that's something that I really like to harp on because it's not, when you say something's expensive, it's because you can't afford it. If you say something's costly, it's worth the money that it is. And then you decide whether you can afford it or not. Like there's a different verbiage that's really important because if you have like a car is a car. Like if I have a Chevy Traverse, like that's not the cheapest car in the world and it cost a lot of money, but it works. It's a car that I needed. It gets me from point A to point B. Like I don't need a Lamborghini. That's expensive, but it's not. It's costs. Well, no, I'd say that's expensive. It's like, let me not. It's expensive because it's the same parts. You still have an engine, you still have doors, you have this, but maybe
Or wheels and
maybe the leather is nicer. Like maybe there's a few other features, but
it's
that's
actually
not.
probably less comfortable, but that's a different story.
Yes,
What else?
I agree. But it's so true.
This also gets to what you value. And it was something that I was thinking about when you were talking about being at the show with the other artist who had appropriately priced her work. And it's something I hear a lot of our fellow makers talk about of like, well, I want to sell my work to people that have enough money to buy my, like everyone immediately goes, I'm just going to go to a market in a rich neighborhood. And the thing that I know to be true that is very painful to learn and took me a long time to figure out with photography is just because somebody has the money doesn't necessarily mean they value what you are selling. So we have had numerous people come into our booth with whatever designer handbag, pick one, anyone, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, what have you. And I'm pretty sure real ones, not knockoffs. I can't say I'm that great of a fashion expert, but I'm feeling pretty positive based upon all the other things. They still thought our items were expensive, right?
Yep.
Because it wasn't they're spending 10 times that amount on a handbag.
Something to carry your things.
Exactly. And because that's what they value. That is a brand that the rest of the world will also recognize. We're opening up a whole nother subject.
Because brand, that alone is such a specific thing that people, that's what people look for. And it's as makers, yes, some of us will get that name, right? We know people who've gone mass-produced their work, but their name's attached to it still, right? Mm-hmm. And, oh my God, good for you. Love that for you. But that's not the reality of being a maker. You're not going to have the brand recognition that you want. You could. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of practice, and you have to position yourself right. But we're not handbags.
Yeah.
It's very simple, and we're not the Lamborghini. We're not a Louis Vuitton purse. We're luxury to people who appreciate handmade. And it's a different audience. We've had people walk into my booth at a show, and as soon as they leave, Kalinda's like, did you see what watch they were wearing? They have it like that. And they're not buying from me. That's not what they wanted.
On the flip side, I think both things can be true. You can have somebody, we've had both. We've had somebody walk into the booth with that watch and drop $300 in the blink of an eye because that's pocket change to some people.
Yep.
Not to me, but to some people.
Yeah.
No big deal. People that or even people that I'm pretty good at reading people at this point, but people who I assumed were not going to purchase anything, I'm thinking last summer there was this single being he was by himself. Mm-hmm. This guy, I'm going to go with mid-20s, whatever, who walked into the booth, grabbed a bunch of stuff, dropped $300, walked away, and then texted us later because he wanted to get something more that we then dropped off his house and then understood the context of more things. Yeah. That's a different shopper than the person who also spends $300, but who has been seeing us at markets for a year, who has debated about how they're going to invest that money, who, didn't spend $300 all at once, but bought a $35 bud vase and then bought 2 bowls and then bought 4 plates. And then it's just a completely, the money at the end of the day is the same, but the process to get there is completely different. And I think that's kind of the short version of a lot of the different subjects that we're talking about that come into play of that Venn diagram.
Yeah, I think something that we sleep on is we have repeat customers. That's a thing, and don't forget about them. They're coming back for a reason. And I hate to break it to you, it's probably not your pottery. It's probably you. It's true. Yes, they love your pottery, but they also probably had an interaction that was memorable with you, right? I had a woman come back to my booth. She was a painter, and she was trying to flip through her phone to show me her paintings. And I was like, well, she's like, I always wanted to try pottery. And I was like, well, it actually informs each other. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I started out as a painter. I paint, I draw, I teach that. I know how to do that stuff too. I can translate it onto a 3D form at this point in my life. And it directly informs the other. Like now I make glazes to make the things that I want to look painterly, right? But she came back, found the photos, sat in my booth for like 10 minutes, showing me all of her art. And then she bought a mug because she was like, you're just so nice. And you listened and you were genuinely interested. And I wanted to see her art. I love that shit. Like, show me everything. And she bought something. Did she have it like that? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know her personal life, but she came back and she straight up told me, I'm buying this because I like you. It's something that I think we forget about is like people buy from people. They're not necessarily buying the beautiful work that you make. Well, yes, it's beautiful and they get that as that perk. It's a way to remember you by, right? They're taking a piece of you home, whether you like it or not. Like that's what it is. We have this tangible item that our hands touch. Like pottery's intimate. We're touching it. We're moving things around. We're making sure that it fits in your hand properly. It fits in our hand properly. We want to have, like, it's a conversation within a piece of art. And I don't know if it's the nerd in me of pottery, but like, that's how I see it. No, if that's comfortable to you and it speaks to you, that's yours. And like, I made that for you and I didn't even know it yet. You picked it up and you were like, that one really resonates with me. And you watch people do it. And that's one of the reasons I want to keep doing markets. Yes, I want to be online and sell things online, but I love that one-to-one interaction of like people picking up every mug and it just has to feel just right. Because yeah, I can make production stuff, but it's not going to all be the same. There's going to be those little nuances, but it could be a color that speaks to them. It could be this. And you see them go back and forth. And what they picked up first is usually what they get. Because that's always, right? Because like,
Always.
That's what resonated with them when they walked by. They're like, oh my God, you have a periwinkle glaze. I've never seen that before. And I'm like, yeah, do you want to know the science behind it? Because I'm refraining.
You want to know what colors I had to go through to get to that?
But it's so true. And then you have other people who know and they're like, you got a purple. That's hard to get. And I was like, I also fire at high temperatures. And they're like, tell me more.
How the hell did you do that?
How did you do that? But it's like those little nuances of learning the science behind it that really creates it. But that's the wow factor of people walking by. They're like, wait, I thought that glaze was gray, but then I picked it up and the light hit it and it's actually blue and gray and brown and green. Like it has all these different metallic-y looks to it. And I'm like, yeah, it took me 6 months to develop. Thank you. Like that's just the reality of it. And I completely missed my point, but here we are.
That's all right. I was laughing at myself when I went down the whole like customer example story because I was like, here I was trying to bring us back around and instead I was like, squirrel. In that attempt to bring us back around, is there something that there's two ways that I'm going in this question in my head. Take whichever one you want.
Okay.
Number one, just open-ended, like, is there something we haven't talked about that you wish people knew, rather, maybe when it comes to all the things that you're balancing and what you've had to adjust? Because I know even from our conversations in the community, there are plenty of other makers out there who are facing situations like yours where something has physically changed and they've had to pivot and move, and how it is a physically demanding art that we all love. How the hell do you keep doing this? Because it's so important for your mental sanity. I'm not going to do an or question. That was a really long example question. So just take that in whatever direction you want.
Well, it completely changed my practice, being diagnosed. Also, the process of our medical system is insane, and it took me 8 months to get a diagnosis and then another 4 to even get treatment because there's so many options out there, right? So take on the stress of what the hell's going on with me? Why does my body feel this way? To I have answers. Now, how do I navigate that, right? So like having MS forced me to slow down. I don't move slow. I want to do everything. I want to do all of the things. I want to try all of the things. And now I have to be like, oh, you can do one thing a year, like chill. And it's forced me also to have like a deeper connection with the work that I make because I am so much more intentional. If I make something, I am not going to take my time to fix a mistake. No, that I can recycle that later. Why would I put myself through all of that hell, right? Unless I'm making a glaze and I use materials and I have to tweak it. that's a different story. Chemicals are expensive. But instead of making a bunch of stuff all at once, I space it out. And I'm more intentional about what products I make. I experiment when I need to. It's very designated time of like, you have an idea, you're an artist, you have to get it out of your brain because it's constantly going. My ideas are there. They're endless, right? And I have to pick and choose. And that's something that my partner has to deal with. I'm like, what if I did this? He's like, or stick to what you were just doing. You need that conversation sometimes, which is why it's really helpful to have that one-on-one dialogue. And even in the community, we do the same thing. But it's the slowing down that is the most important factor, because I get fatigued a hell of a lot easier. There are days where my brain fog is so aggressive that I have a stamp. I have no idea where my stamp is. I lost it on a day where I was foggy. I still don't know where it is. So we're signing bottoms with our hands. Like, there's those stupid little adjustments that you have to make. But it's one of those things of like, I just bought a bunch of clay. I can't move my clay from my car to my studio without help. I'll do it if I have to. I did this last batch, but I moved 2 boxes. I'm sitting down. I'm taking a break. I'm getting some water. I'm moving a few more boxes, sitting down, taking a break. There's a lot more breaks that I have to take. And there's a lot of toss in my ADHD of like, I could be working and I could forget to eat and drink and do all of those things because I'm so locked into what I'm doing. But at the same time, I can't do that anymore because if I don't nourish myself, I won't have the energy because it wasn't there to begin with. So slowing down and being more intentional with what I make, what sells. So I'm not making things that don't sell. That's one of the really important things beyond when I have time to do like my art, quote unquote, right? But it's no, oil bottles are selling right now. So you're making 20 oil bottles. Like that's what you need to do. Great, done. Mugs are selling. Oh my God, people want the biggest mugs in all the land. Great, I'll start making those. Again, I will never. It's so much.
Face for scale. Nobody can see me, but we use my head for scale. Not hands, just heads.
Nope, just heads. But it's true because people will. I just made these like cute little espresso mugs. And I was like, I'm in the US. Why am I making these? I only made 6 of them. And people were like, these are really cute, but like.
But can you do it bigger?
Like, yes. Or I have like an 18-ounce mug and they're like, it's not enough. And I'm like, fill it twice, man. But
also, like, yeah, get up. It's good for your body.
You don't want to be sitting at a desk that long, I promise.
Says the girl holding a 24-ounce mug.
But again, if you are working and that's what you need, and if it's filled with water and juice and things of that nature that are going to like nourish you, then I fully feel you. My water bottle's huge. I carry it around with me.
Girl, we sell this mug in Wisconsin. I tell people to make a Bloody Mary in it, and they're like, ooh, yeah, now I'm buying it.
See, but that's the other thing is like people think mugs are just for coffee. And like I had someone buy an extra mug because I was like, I eat ice cream out of them. And he was like, that's such a good idea. I was like, yeah, because the bowl gets cold. You don't want to touch it. You hold the handle. Oh my God, look, safe. Your hands aren't freezing while you're eating your ice cream. So my guy bought another one. Now he has his coffee and his ice cream mug. There's these little things of like, yes, I label everything like this is an espresso cup, but people are like, this would be great for flowers. I'm like, yeah, use it. Use it for that. The flowers your grandchild brings you.
Maybe an air plant. Yeah.
And I've sold things with air plants in them before, and people are like, this would be a great shot glass. And I'm like, you know what? They're multi-purpose.
You do you.
You do you. But it's that intentional making of items that you know will sell. I wasn't doing that before. I was making whatever the hell I wanted. It was like, this is my idea. This is this. And I also have to pivot and make things in different ways. Like I'm starting to learn how to slip cast certain things, specifically for my trees, because I can't keep up. I can't keep up with them. People want a bunch of them. They want them larger. I work in porcelain. Going larger with porcelain is a whole nother conversation, especially with the finicky one that I use. But I love her. We fight our own battles together. It really is moving with intention, slowing down, and knowing what your audience wants so that you're not wasting your time or theirs. And I think that that's a really important thing that having a chronic illness has taught me. You don't have to be hustling all the time. And it's something that I've talked to people in our community about. They're like, well, I don't make as much work as you. And I'm like, yeah, but like you're making intricate pieces. You're not going to. You're spending so much time on that one piece. And that's so beautiful. If I want to sell what I need to sell, I can't do that with everything, which is why I have to split my mind into having functional production work and then my art. It was all on purpose in the last couple of years. Like I was diagnosed in 2023. It's only been 2 years, right? Not even 2 full years. And navigating that with navigating how I also have a full-time job, which is why I have a full-time job. So I have the insurance and all of that nature. I have big plans. I would love to be a potter full-time. That sounds dope. Let me try it. And I've already tried it, but it wasn't the right time. And I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, like the timing aspect is important. And it's not always like what's going on in the world. It could be in your personal life, like being diagnosed with a chronic illness and then being like, I'm going full time would be a horrible idea. That's bad timing. Right? So it's
especially when both of you would then be self-employed.
yes,
Just to like
yes.
clarify the household thing. It's not like you could be like, cool, I'm going to jump from this plan over here to this other one. Like not
Insurance
quite.
is expensive if you're not getting it through your employer. And he works for himself. That's part of our situation. Like we have insurance through work and we need that. So there's all these nuances and it's so silly because we're in the US and that's just such an important thing and it comes up all the time, but it's the reality of things. And yeah, I will say that the biggest thing is just slowing down and being intentional. And I think that because of that, changing from the work I was making before, I really like searched for like meaning in my work. That was something that I really struggled with. Like we had the Ben Carter come in and I had 2 very different styles. And he was like, wow, those are dramatically different. And it was my food paintings on mugs and then these like really pastel colors. And I'm not making either of those anymore. I'm not. That wasn't that long ago. Do I wanna?
Was that last summer that we did that critique?
Think so. Or the summer before. It wasn't that long ago. And I completely changed what I was making. And part of it is because my partner's like, you can't spend that much time and sell at the price you're trying to sell because I know what my audience is right now. And they're not going to pay the higher price for a hand painted. Some will, but it's few and far between. So I have to make sure that what I'm making is for the people I know will buy it. I have the repeat customers. I know what they want. I know their favorite color. Like when your email address comes in and it's like purple lover, I got you. Like, because that happened, right? So, but it's so true. Like, you know, all these different things. And it's like, oh, it's this person's name. I bet that's this person I've seen at shows who's been looking for a purple because they tell me these things. Or like, oh, I love the new things that you're making. Like, this is these colors you don't see. It's like, yeah, that's very intentional. I have a color palette. Do I want to expand it to like 1 million colors? Yeah, I do. Will I? No, because I have someone reining me in the back. Like, it's true. I want to do it all. And I know that, but it's having a chronic illness also makes me reflect on that of like, you can't do it all at once. You can do it all, but not in this week, in this month, in this year, right? Because that was my time frame. We had the yearly planning meeting in the community. I was literally in an infusion chair writing out my yearly plans.
You were not.
100%. I was. Like the first meeting that we had, I'm getting infused.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
as we call it in my household, I'm getting the juice. I'm typing out all my goals. I got my 1 year, my 5 year, my 10 year, my 20 year. And did I meet that 1 year goal? No, I'm ambitious as fuck. I am. I'm sorry. I knew the curse word was going to come through, but I am. I'm so ambitious that I had a year plan of like, I'm going to have a dinnerware line and I'm going to get a restaurant.
I remember that.
You're not going to frickin' do that in 1 year, girl. Like, you literally are in a chair getting medicine.
I was going to say, maybe not in that particular year.
Yeah. But that's part of it is like, that's how my brain works. And it's like, you don't have to do it that quickly.
How do you, and then I promise we will wrap up because I know I have used like way more of your time than planned. But I have to ask because I think the thing I struggle with, you know, I am on that same ambition train with you.
Yep.
And what I do instead is either go like all out in that final week of a quarter or whatever it is that I'm like, I haven't hit these things. So now I have to just like push, 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 push. And like, we wonder why I'm surprised I have burnout, like certifiable burnout. Or you beat yourself up so bad that it's like, oh, it didn't get done. Like, oh, it's yet again not done. Like, do you feel like you have found a way to kind of shift that mental perspective as you're learning how to strategize your time to just be like, cool, we just roll it to the next one. No big deal.
It's a yes and no. Because do I still have moments where I'm like, I didn't do anything I wanted to do this year? Of course I do. We're all going to have those moments. But at the same time, I have so much more grace and forgiveness with myself now of not meeting, because like the goals are arbitrary. I made them up. I made them up. I was like, this is what I want to accomplish. And if it's not in the time frame, then I just didn't know how long it was going to take. And in business, in art, in various different things, everything takes longer than you think it does. And that's something that we forget. And it's something that like, I'll write an assignment for the kids and I'm like, you have this many classes, which is 90 hours, but they're kids. They're not going to use it as 90 hours. Like that's so much time to complete one project. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to be on their phones for part of it and this and that. But
not just kids. Let's be honest. We're all like
phones are a whole nother.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah,
different podcast.
Exactly. But it's having the ability and the willingness to change your deadline. I do it for the kids. Why can't I do it for myself? If they can't meet the deadline I set, I'm not going to be like, oh, you failed. Like, it's art. You're creating. There's an infinite deadline. Like, you're going to have to push things back. Do I want them to meet deadlines because they're going to have a real job and they're going to have to meet deadlines? Absolutely. So are some hard and some are a little softer? Of course. But in a business, unless you're meeting someone else's expectations,
or even, I think this is the plus side of having other income, is like there are situations I can think of for myself of like, I have to meet that self-imposed deadline because otherwise we will have no money to pay the bills. Like you have to hit that.
100%.
But if you have, that's the savvy part. It's the ironic part that I feel like when you're not full-time, you're just thinking about full-time. And when you are full-time, you're looking at the people who have other income going like, that is the smarter thing to do.
But I think
you just have more flexibility.
There's more flexibility. And it's also like, you're going to put your energy into what feeds you most. It's Naomi Clement. Starving artists don't create great art, right? Like we have to be fed too. And if you need that full-time job, whether it's for insurance or for the income, do it. You're not less than for doing that. You're not less of an artist. You're not less of a business person. You're making it work, which is what we're all trying to do. We weren't put on this earth to like be this stressed out all the time. You should have moments of joy. You should have moments where you can say, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to go create my art. And if you want to do that full time, great. Have someone there to help you, right? Whether it's financially, mentally, you name it, whatever you need to have your needs met before you make that decision. But if that's what you want to do, there's ways to do it. Have a part-time job first. Have a full-time job and have it be a side hustle. Bring it down to a part-time job. Then you can go full-time. Like there's different ways and none of them make the effort you put in and the work that you put into it less. And it's the same conversation of like, if you're slip casting, is that handmade? Like, there's so much in the process of slip casting.
I was like, don't be starting a new subject. I'm trying to wrap this up.
I'm
here,
sorry.
Jenna.
No, but it's the same idea of like, you can't we make things in a way that one, like tools are my favorite thing ever. And they're even more so because I have a chronic illness. I use them to help me. I use a chuck to trim, and I also shout out to Gif and Grip. That also is a lifesaver for me, right? And I have a standing wheel now. I have a standing and a sitting wheel. I can alternate with whatever my body needs. If I need to sit down, I sit. If I need to stand, I stand. Making all these adjustments, having the tools that you need is important. And especially like I hate saying the word because I just haven't accepted this part of it, but like, I have a disability. That's what it is. A chronic illness is a disability. If I want to go get a disability tag for my car, I can. But it's one of those things where like, it's hard to accept, but you have tools that can help you navigate it and use them. It's as simple as that. Use them. It doesn't make you less than. So it's same thing with your art, same thing with the tools that you use. It all wraps up into one. You have to be able to navigate what's best for you, what's best for your family, your situation, and that's always going to change. Like, I didn't ask to have a chronic illness. Like, I wasn't like, hey, let's try this hat on.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Like, but that's the cards we were given, so that's what we work with. And I'm not stopping my business for that. I'm not stopping making pottery. Do I know when I need to stop in a given day? Yeah, my hands tell me. They're like, ma'am, take a break. And you just have to listen to your body more.
I love that. Before I forget, where should we send people on the internet to come see all of the things you made before, are making now, this whole journey and transition and process, whatever verb I want to use?
If you dive way back into the Instagram, you'll see some work I shouldn't have been selling at the time. But my Instagram is at Level Studio Arts with an S at the end, Level Studio Arts. And my website is levelstudioarts.com.
Yay!
Yeah.
I feel like I forcibly stopped us because I know we could go for 3 more hours, so we're just going to have to do this again.
That's totally fine with me. I'm down.
Love it. Thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. And also, before you end, I appreciate the community you created because it's been a lifesaver.
I mean, agreed. I've said it a million times inside of it. I don't know if anybody's heard here. Just because I have the admin keys doesn't mean... You said this earlier about your students. You think you're doing something for them, but in reality, it's actually tenfold back to you.
It's a lovely corner of the internet.
I hope this conversation with Jenna has given you permission to stop seeing your creative career as a series of either-or decisions and start seeing it as something much more flexible and forgiving. That maybe the goal isn't to pick the right path once and stick with it forever, but rather to get really good at adapting as your life and circumstances change, all while keeping that creative thread running through everything. What struck me most about Jenna's story is how pottery has been her constant, even when everything else has shifted around it. Teaching jobs came and went, studios opened and closed, health challenges arose, but she never has stopped making. And honestly, isn't that what we're all really actually after? The ability to keep our hands in mud no matter what life throws our way? Pun not actually intended this time. If you're someone who's been beating yourself up for not having a perfectly clear creative career, or if you're facing your own curveballs and wondering how to adapt your practice, remember what Jenna said about slowing down and being more intentional. Sometimes the most sustainable thing you can do isn't hustle harder. It's getting strategic about what you make, when you make it, and how you support that making. If you're navigating any of these big decisions, whether to take a day job for benefits, how to pivot your work when circumstances change, or just figuring out what version of this creative life actually works for you, you already know where I'm going with this. You do not have to figure it out all alone. This is exactly the kind of conversation that happens every day inside of the community, where makers at every stage support each other through the messy, non-linear reality of building creative careers. Whether you're dealing with a chronic illness like Jenna, major life transitions, or just trying to find that sweet spot between stability and creative fulfillment, having people who understand our unique challenges we face as makers makes all the difference. In fact, Jenna is one of our very members hosting a weekly co-working hangout. And speaking of those members,
Hi friends, I'm Debbie Stillier, ceramic artist, lover of texture, and curious human behind Curiosity Ceramics. I'm based in the Bay Area in California, and when I am not at my day job or carving clay, I'm doing dog sports with my pups, Potato and Whiskey. Joining the Makers Playbook community has been such a great experience. The support, the weekly community hangouts, the pep talks, the practical business advice. It's honestly like having a team of cheerleaders who also totally get why I'm still up at midnight blazing mugs. If you want to see what I'm working on or just say hi, you can find me on my Instagram at curiosity.art. Okay, bye!
If you want to learn more about the community membership and support the creation of this very podcast in the process, visit makersplaybook.com/community. Until next time, my friends, go get back to making your dreams a reality, because together, we've got this. Audio post-production of this podcast is made possible by help from Kirsty Kotzfan, with promotional material assistance from Queenie Maliki. The Makers Playbook podcast is recorded on the original homelands of the Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee people, where the people of Wisconsin's sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present.
This podcast is a production of the Brickyard Network. To find out more about our lineup of ceramic podcasts, visit brickyardnetwork.org.